Welcome back to Simplifying the State. I'm Adam Watson.
I'm Nicholas Parham.
Okay, so on today's episode, we're going to be talking about Trump's cabinet appointees that he has announced in recent days. We're going to be talking about policies that Trump has either suggested he will implement or has said he will implement. And then we're going to kind of talk a little bit about possibly what are the most likely things Democrats might do during the 2 years before the midterms in 2026. Okay, so let's start with the people who have been nominated for the various cabinet positions. So you have the most notable being Tulsi Gabbard, who has been named Director of National Intelligence, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for Secretary of Health and Human Services. You have a Fox News host, who I cannot remember his name, has been appointed to Secretary of Defense. Marco Rubio, a senator from Florida, appointed to Secretary of State, and then a couple others, although I think that's pretty much all the big ones that have been filled. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are going to be heading up a Department of Government Efficiency. Unclear what that will look like, but given that Elon Musk said he would cut $2 trillion from the federal budget, I assume it will be, and they have suggested and said that it will probably be essentially trimming the fat and reducing government waste and making the government run more efficiently. All right, let's listen now to CHS sophomore Drew Garfinkel's opinions on Elon Musk heading up the new Department of Government Efficiency. So what's your name and your grade?
I'm Drew Garfinkel. I am in 10th grade.
All right. So what do you think of Elon Musk being put in charge, saying he's going to be put in charge, now officially being put in charge of a department to reduce government spending?
Well, I don't think I have that controversial of an opinion. I don't think he should. He has contracts with the U.S. government and stuff, so it's a clear conflict of interest.
So, Nicholas, what do you think of these appointees for the Trump administration?
I thought the choices were very interesting. I mean, I thought they weren't too out of the ordinary, but some of them do definitely raise some eyebrows. Like, I think putting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in charge of, being Secretary of Health and Services, like you said, who has previously made comments about, raised questions about vaccine safety and possible side effects of them. And also, I thought the Fox News appointee was a little odd, but and I thought the Elon Musk thing was also pretty interesting with the whole trying to take $2 trillion off the U.S. budget, which would have to take normally would have to take off significant portions of, say, the military budget, social services, and healthcare. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're actually going to pull it off. And I also saw that Trump had given Elon Musk 18 months to do it after he took office, after he takes office. So I'm not sure if that's going to be enough time. We'll have to see.
Right. I forgot to mention, he also appointed Matt Gaetz. He said he will try to make him his attorney general. One interesting thing I thought about Matt Gaetz being the pick is he resigned 2 days before the House Ethics Committee was going to release a report on the allegations that he had relations with an individual who was, at least according to her testimony, under the age of 17 at the time. So he resigned about 2 days before the release of that House Ethics report, and now Mike Johnson has requested that they not release it since he is no longer a member of Congress. Matt Gaetz is not particularly liked amongst Republicans, so I'm not sure how easy it will be to get him appointed. That actually brings us to my next part of this, which is appointments, how he will get them appointed. So right now, the Republicans just elected a new Senate leader, John Thune, to basically replace Mitch McConnell, as he said he will not be running for Senate leadership in the next Congress. So the Republicans have a control of both the House and the Senate. and that will probably make it fairly easy to appoint some of Trump's nominees. However, there are questions about possibly the qualifications of those candidates or kind of the lack thereof. Like we were talking about take the secretary, his Secretary of Defense pick, for example. He did serve in the military, but he is a Fox News host, and typically people who serve as Secretary of Defense were chosen from either retired former officers or like very high up on the military chain of command. I do not believe he was very high up, but that's certainly an interesting pick in my opinion. And then you have, like you said, people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has expressed questions about vaccines and has said that they may lead to autism, and has kind of pushed anti-vax conspiracy theories. And it's overall just a very interesting cabinet. There's also Tulsi Gabbard, who has been appointed to be his director of national intelligence, and there are I've seen that she has ties with Vladimir Putin and Assad, who is the leader of the Syrian regime, who is not a very good person, as he has used chemical weapons against his own people. So I've seen reports from other Western intelligence officials that they might possibly not share intel now with the United States, as over concerns that possibly, she may leak it. That was a report. I'm not sure how likely that actually is, but that's just something that's being floated now. Nicholas, what do you think the chances of them getting some of these more questionable appointees like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to Health and Human Services, getting them through the Senate?
Well, from what I've heard from people thus far in some articles based on Republicans' opinions of this, have actually been fairly positive, like surprisingly so to me. I think one of the quotes was, like, "It's crazy, but I love it." So, I think this was one of the appointees that said that. However, it tells how some Republicans find this even surprising to their own, but they seem to be pretty happy with it. So I think the chances that Robert F. Kennedy would become the Secretary of Health and Human Services is fairly likely.
Right. And even if the Republicans were to have 4 defections, that's how many would need to vote against getting these people appointed, because they have a 3-seat majority. If they lose 3 Republicans to tie, and then it goes to J.D. Vance, he breaks the tie, we'll probably side with the administration and get them appointed. So in order to not get them appointed, there would need to be 4 Republican defections. Even if that were to happen, if Congress were to adjourn, meaning both the Senate and the House were to adjourn by simple majority vote, then Trump could then do recess appointments, which would basically mean that he would be able to appoint these people. Basically, there would be no committee meetings about this. There would basically be no hearings over this and over those appointees. That seems to be like their worst case scenario for the Republicans, and that they're hoping to get them passed through the normal means, but they have said that is not something they are taking off the table. Okay, in other kind of our other topic now we're going to talk about is the possible policies that Trump might implement in his next term. So first, there's the economy. So his main economic policy he was floating on the campaign trail was kind of tax cuts, deregulation measures, and then also his big thing, which was tariffs. So he proposed, I believe it was a 20% universal tariff on everything, and then subsequent tariffs on various things at various percentages. So Nicholas, what do you think about the possibly implementing of tariffs?
I think, as we've talked about before, many economists have argued that increasing of tariffs to the amount Trump, like even the lowest amount Trump has said he would do, could lead to drastic negative effects on the economy, and it would drive up prices and generally make life harder for especially working class people who can't afford those higher things and are already struggling to make ends meet. And it would also worsen relations with other countries that are attempting to trade with the U.S. currently, and so that might even see a decrease in foreign relations.
Right. There was also a report that it could increase the costs of U.S. citizens by up to $2,000 a year. We interviewed CHS sophomore Drew Garfinkel about this. Here's what he had to say. What do you think of Trump's possible... He said he wants to institute a bunch of different tariffs on stuff. What do you think of that idea?
Well, tariffs end up costing the American people. So we've seen this in a bunch of stuff. We've seen it during the Great Depression, and a bunch of economists say that it's not good. So I'm going to take their word for it.
Yeah, so you can hear that he certainly does not think that this is a very good economic policy to have, for various reasons, for the reasons Nicholas just talked about possibly. We'll have to see how the economy reacts to these tariffs, but, we'll just have to see. So when it comes to foreign policy, Trump has said a couple of things. He's talked about, with withdrawing possible aid to Ukraine. He's talked about, possibly pulling out of the Paris climate accords. He's talked about possibly being less supportive of NATO and stuff like that. Nicholas, what do you think that this could have, how he could have an impact possibly on U.S. foreign policy?
The foreign policy decisions Trump has floated so far are definitely going to sail the ship off course of current U.S. policy. I mean, he has said he wants to end the war in Ukraine as fast as possible, whatever those means might be. And he said that if Russia does not agree to a peace right now, he will send as many weapons to Ukraine as possible.
He's also talked about the social issues. So there were reports in Project 2025, which Trump has distanced himself from, said he has no idea what that's about, does not intend to implement those policies. One of the policies in Project 2025, which was designated as like a conservative blueprint for the next administration. Several people within his former administration worked on it, so he has distanced himself. It's unclear whether he might implement some of this stuff. But there were definitely, it was mentioned that there would possibly be at least in that plan, a possible national abortion ban. The Republicans have also talked about repealing Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, if they were able to, which they probably would be now that they have majorities in both the Senate and the House. They've also talked about like climate policy. They've talked about, like we said, pulling out of the Paris climate accords. They have indicated that they will remove the $7,500 EV tax credit, which basically provides an incentive for Americans to purchase an electric car over a gasoline car, and have said they would roll back some parts of the Biden administration's climate initiatives. Nicholas, what do you think of all that?
I think that'd be a very dangerous thing to do. Climate change is a very real threat, according to essentially all scientific observations and studies. So if Trump plans to pull out of the Paris Climate Accords, then that will likely have drastic impacts on how people view the United States, how especially like more left-leaning countries view the United States, and also for the safety of the world and coastal cities who are more at risk to rising sea levels caused by climate change.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about possibly what Democrats might do in the next 2 years to kind of, in their, I mean, Democrats are definitely going to be looking to mitigate some aspects of Trump's agenda. And so, Nicholas, what do you think what are the ways that they might be preparing to go about that?
So, from what I've heard, there are essentially two strategies that Democrats have taken to try to slow down Trump's passing of his policies. One of them I have heard of is essentially compliance, but like not full compliance. So they're essentially taking the line and moving it further back. I think this was the case of like was it the mayor of New York? What was it? I don't know. It was like someone of New York who complied with Trump and like talked about it and complied, not and worked with Trump to like either help improve relations with him or maybe like is warming up to Trump. I'm not really sure. But the second way Democrats are probably going to try to fight it is just outright resistance and not going to work with Trump at all. Basically, just stop any instance of him maybe even trying to pass any of his policies or anything else. I saw this in the case of an Illinois politician saying he will not take our people in reference to the mass deportation he's claiming to go through with.
Right. I think that full out refusal to cooperate probably will not help in terms of Congress because the Republicans don't really need Democratic support on their stuff. I mean, possibly in the House. I mean, their majority is so razor thin that they can't really. Well, at least at this point, it is only 218. Uh, they can't really afford any Republican defections. So if it were to come to something like another government shutdown, then that might possibly be something that they need Democratic support on if they cannot get enough members of their own congressional group to agree on it. So that's possibly an area where Democrats could use their position, but I'm not sure. Uh, you talked about governors. Yeah, I have seen multiple things from Democratic governors, particularly Gavin Newsom, who have said that they are preparing to issue various legal challenges to Trump policies he might implement, like his mass deportation policy, which he said he'll go through with. Which, uh, I mean, it's unclear how many people he would deport. Real quick, though, we have an interview again from CHS sophomore Drew Garfinkel about that policy. Uh, what what would you say about his pledge to deport a bunch of people? I mean, the number is still unspecified, but he has said he would undergo mass deportation. Some estimate it could be 15 million. Some say as little as 100,000.
I'm not the most educated on deportation, but I know agriculture, like something crazy like 50% of like people who work in agriculture are illegal immigrants. So that would be devastating for like agriculture.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, no problem.
And again, it's not clear how many he might deport. It could be as little as 20,000. It could be as many as 15 million. He has not really released hard facts on what that will look like. But I mean, again, that might become an issue if it goes like large scale, because such a large percent of the U.S. agricultural workforce are illegal immigrants. So that could negatively impact the U.S. economy if he were to, on mass scale, deport illegal immigrants. But yeah, I kind of going back to your point, I think that, again, Democrats in Congress cannot do much without Republican defections. But when it comes to the governors and how they go about working with Trump, I think you'll definitely probably see resistance and legal challenges to some of the Trump administration's upcoming policies, and I think that will be very interesting to watch as that unfolds. Okay, thank you so much for listening to Simplifying the State. We'll be back next week with a new episode, so tune in then.